They thought the Dead Sea Scrolls had already told their last secret. But when artificial intelligence looked closer, it uncovered something human eyes had missed for over 2,000 years. Not just hidden words, but the fingerprint of a person who lived before Jesus ever walked the earth. What AI found inside one tiny fragment shocked historians, theologians, and even scientists who thought the mystery was solved. The Dead Sea Scrolls are often called the greatest archaeological discovery of the 20th century, and for good reason. But what if we've never truly read them? For decades, thousands of their fragments sat in museums, too damaged to decipher, too fragile to handle. No human mind could piece them together. Until now. Today's story isn't just about dusty caves or ancient parchment. It's about how artificial intelligence, a tool of the modern world, breathed life into words written more than 2 millennia ago. And what it found could rewrite how we understand one of the oldest religions on earth. Our story begins in 1947, in the blistering heat of the Judean desert near the Dead Sea. A young Bedouin shepherd named Mohammed Ejdib lost one of his goats. Searching among the rocky cliffs, he tossed a stone into a dark cave and heard the sound of pottery breaking. Inside, he discovered several jars containing tightly wrapped scrolls. What he didn't know was that this chance encounter would change history forever. Those scrolls turned out to be over 2,000 years old, written sometime between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE. When scholars unrolled them, they realized they were looking at the earliest known copies of biblical texts, older than any version of the Hebrew Bible known at the time. Over the next decade, more caves were found. Cave after cave revealed hundreds of scrolls, more than 900 documents in total, spread across over 25,000 fragments. They contained not only biblical books like Isaiah and Genesis, but also hymns, calendars, and writings from a mysterious Jewish sect believed to be the Essenes. People who rejected society, lived communally, and waited for what they believed was an imminent apocalypse. But there was one problem. Most of the scrolls were shattered, burned, or decayed beyond recognition. Scholars spent decades painstakingly trying to match letters and edges by hand. Even with microscopes and photography, entire passages remained unreadable. The text was too faint, too damaged. It was like trying to finish a 5,000-piece puzzle with half the pieces missing. For over 70 years, the mystery remained unsolved, until AI stepped in. Fast forward to the 21st century. Every surviving fragment of the Dead Sea Scrolls had been photographed, digitized, and stored online. But even high-resolution images couldn't solve the puzzle of who wrote them, or how. In 2020, researchers from the University of Groningen in the Netherlands decided to use machine learning, the same technology behind facial recognition and self-driving cars, to analyze the handwriting on the most famous of all the scrolls, the Great Isaiah Scroll, discovered in Cave 1 at Qumran. At first glance, scholars believed the scroll was the work of a single scribe, someone who had carefully copied all 54 columns of text by hand. But the AI disagreed. Using advanced pattern recognition, the machine analyzed more than 5,000 individual Hebrew characters, studying the thickness of every line, the angle of each stroke, even the microscopic hesitation in the pen's movement. It noticed that about halfway through the scroll, the handwriting subtly changed. The shapes of the letters, though nearly identical, carried a different rhythm, as if another person had taken over mid-scroll. This discovery stunned historians. For decades, the academic world believed one man had written it all. But now, thanks to artificial intelligence, it became clear that 2 different scribes had worked together, each contributing to one of the most sacred manuscripts in human history. And that's when AI made an even bigger discovery. When researchers zoomed deeper, beyond the handwriting, into the actual material of the parchment and ink, the system picked up faint chemical variations invisible to the naked eye. You see, ancient scribes mixed their ink by hand using soot, oil, and minerals. Even slight differences in mixture created unique chemical fingerprints. The AI noticed that one section of the scroll used a slightly different ink composition, meaning it had come from a different batch, and possibly a different scribe's workshop. But that wasn't all. Under hyperspectral imaging, which captures light far beyond the visible spectrum, the AI revealed a faint mark hidden in the fibers of the parchment, a mark shaped like an ancient aleph A, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It wasn't part of the text. It looked almost like a signature, or a mark of identity. If this interpretation is correct, it could be the oldest personal signature ever found in a biblical text. A nameless scribe working by lamplight in the desert over 2,000 years ago may have quietly signed his masterpiece. He probably never imagined that centuries later, a machine, built of circuits and algorithms, would be Theon to find his name. After this success, the team decided to go bigger. They trained the AI on thousands of digital images from other Dead Sea Scroll fragments, tiny pieces scattered in museums and archives across the world. And something incredible happened. The AI began to recognize handwriting patterns that matched across fragments found in different caves. This meant that some scrolls might have been written by the same people, or even produced in the same scriptorium. In one case, two pieces believed to come from separate scrolls turned out to fit together perfectly when the AI compared their writing rhythm and ink density. It was like discovering lost pages of a long-forgotten book. Even more shocking were the ghost texts. Using multispectral and infrared imaging, the AI uncovered traces of ink no human eye could see, words that had completely vanished over time. Entire sentences appeared, glowing faintly under digital reconstruction. Some of these lines didn't match any known biblical verse, suggesting that multiple versions of familiar stories once coexisted. One fragment contained a line similar to Deuteronomy, but with a single phrase changed, a difference that could alter its meaning entirely. Was it a mistake? A translation? Or evidence of an earlier forgotten version of the text? For scholars, it was like opening a portal to the evolution of Scripture itself. This discovery didn't just rewrite a footnote in history, it challenged the way we think about sacred texts altogether. For centuries, many believed that the words of the Bible had been preserved perfectly, copied word for word over generations. But these new findings showed something more human, that scribes were collaborators, not perfectionists. That the act of writing was alive, fluid, and sometimes imperfect. The fact that two scribes worked on one scroll revealed that copying scripture wasn't a solitary job. It might have been a community effort, almost like an early publishing workshop. Each person brought their own style, rhythm, and interpretation. And those invisible ghost texts? They remind us that the words we read today are the survivors of time, fragments of a conversation between faith, history, and humanity. Every missing letter or faded line isn't just a loss, it's a sign of how fragile memory can be. Think about the irony for a moment. The people who wrote these scrolls believed the world would soon end. They sealed their words in jars, hoping someone, someday, might find them. And thousands of years later, that someone turned out not to be a prophet or priest, but a computer. AI, a technology that relies on math and logic, ended up uncovering one of the most spiritual stories ever written. It didn't just find ink or paper. It found a human heartbeat preserved in code. The contrast is almost poetic. An ancient belief system about divine revelation, rediscovered by modern algorithms. It's as if the past was waiting for the future to finally listen. For the first time, we can now see how ancient people collaborated, edited, and debated their beliefs, just like we do today with our books, social media posts, or even YouTube scripts. It's proof that across thousands of years, the human urge to communicate and preserve truth has never changed. So what exactly did AI discover in the Dead Sea Scrolls? Not a new prophecy or hidden code, but something even more profound. It uncovered the human side of history. Behind the sacred words, it found fingerprints of real people, their imperfections, their teamwork, their individuality. It revealed that even the holiest texts were shaped by human hands, human minds, and human emotion. And it proved that the past still has secrets, if we have the tools to listen. The Dead Sea Scrolls once bridged the ancient world and the modern Bible. Now AI bridges the gap between their world and ours. It's a reminder that technology doesn't just move us forward, it helps us look backward, with clearer eyes. Because in the end, every discovery, whether written in ink or encoded in data, is part of the same human story. And this time, that story just became a little less mysterious and a lot more connected. If you love uncovering history's hidden secrets, hit play on the next video right now.